of Julius, Malema and the economic freedom fighters. To discuss this, as we promised you a little earlier on, we're joined by the head of community safety at AfriForum, Ian Cameron. Good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. What's at stake here, of course, is the princely sum of 337,000 rand. Give us the background to how we got here.
Thank you very much. In March 2017, AfriForum successfully acquired an interdict against Julius Malema after several cases of incitements for land grabs and land invasion throughout the entire country. Then in September of 2017, the EFF and Julius Malema tried to bring a rescission application. Their heads of argument were not, although filed in time, and therefore they lost with cost again. Then in March 2018, the EFF didn't show up for the next hearing of this case, and a further cost was given towards the EFF. So now it's basically 3 court hearings that the EFF have to cover the costs for, and the next step is for the sheriff to go and write up the items that are of value to about 337,000 rand, as you correctly said, from where then these items can be seized and auctioned off for the money to be returned to AfriForum.
Is there any case that they could make potentially by saying that you didn't win on the merits of the case, but rather on procedure, as you've just outlined?
Well, it wouldn't have been able for us to get this far without following procedure, so it's quite simple that the legal team were served with the relevant notices, that they received everything as they were meant to, and that Julius Malema himself has received many of the notices. So unfortunately for them, all the due process has been followed, and we have to respect the rule of law and make sure we act with respect to the court, and that's how the EFF now have to come to the party and make sure that they respect the rule of law, and that obviously includes Mr. Malema.
Right, we've mentioned the sum of 337,000 odd rand. What are you going for in Malema's personal capacity, and what do you want from the party?
Well, I think that we haven't listed any specific items. We did say, it'll be quite interesting how someone like Julius Malema very often talks about inequality in the country, but he wears a watch that's over 250,000 rand. So it would be interesting to see something, an item like that. But nevertheless, to us, it's about using property to make up the money that has to come back to its rightful owner, which is AfriForum. And we have made it very clear that we will use that money in order to combat land expropriation without compensation, but also then land grabs that we've been being encouraged by the EFF and specifically Mr. Malema.
You will know, of course, that the EFF and specifically Mr. Malema himself have remained unrepentant in their calls, specifically for land to be occupied that is currently vacant at the moment. That's something they've said they'll continue to call for. Where does that place those sentiments?
Yeah, well, basically from the current side, it's interesting that I've heard Malema defending his claims for people, his encouragement of people to illegally occupy land. And interesting that one of the first farms that they illegally occupied this year was a black farmer just outside of Pretoria's farm, and where not the EFF or Malema were willing to come to the table and have a discussion in order to protect this black farmer's right to property. And AfriForum came to the table and we protected that right and made sure that his property was returned to him. To us, it's a basic thing where everyone in the country have a right to have respected property rights. Obviously, we also say there's an important reform process that must take place, but we shouldn't do it at the detriment of the entire country's economy, and that will negatively impact everyone in the country, including Malema and the EFF.
Right, we'll have to leave it there with AfriForum's head of community safety, and that, of course, are on the line there, Ian Cameron, joining us this evening. We will be joined a little later on by the EFF's Secretary General, Goldrich Gardie, a little later on after 8 p.m. to respond to what AfriForum have said. It's certainly going to be an interesting debate because the EFF, as I say, remain unapologetic in their stance. Stay with us.